short weeks away, and Run Pure Sports is gearing up for the season with the best deal in DFS.
For a limited time only, we are offering new members a 15% discount for the life of their subscription, including SaberSim subs. Simply use the promo code NFL15 when subscribing to take advantage of this great deal before our prices go up.
And at RPS, we don't just give you access to one sport. When you subscribe to our premium service, we give you access to all of our content, including NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and so much more.
And we're not going to charge extra for access to our preseason content either. Our memberships include all of our content, including the NFL preseason. The best DFS players in the industry give you access to their core plays and slate strategies for every sport and for every slate. Simplify your lineup building process by plugging in picks directly from the top players in the world. Watch our premium live streams to gain a huge edge on the competition. Our guys are live up to lock for the biggest slates, walking you through their last-minute decisions, analyzing breaking news and injury alerts for the major sports.
Again, for a limited time only, you can access our industry-leading DFS content for 15% off our already low price. SaberSim packages are included, so sign up today using the promo code NFL15 for 15% off your subscription for life and start building winning lineups today.
What's going on, everybody? It's Keg and Coop back with another RPS NASCAR Cup Series breakdown video. Normally, we have our guy JJ here. He's on vacation down in Coop's parts by Virginia, but we'll hold it down. Hit that like button.
Do you think he's really on a vacation visiting his dad?
Yeah, definitely.
Guy's going to come back beat the hell, isn't he?
Probably. His dad's going to whip him a bit, yeah. For sure. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We don't ask for much here. Just that. Get us to 150 likes, and then we'll give out our action. So let's start here, Coop. We gave out our action last week. It was a road course. We're at Watkins Glen. There's 9 laps to go. We're looking to make about 15 to 17 units of profit. Caution comes out because what happened? A car couldn't get out of the gravel.
It was Joey Hand, I think, first one, and then it was Loris Hesselman's.
Yep. And sometimes in NASCAR, you will win races you have no business winning, and you will lose races you have no business losing. And that happened to us last week, but we'll try to rebound. I got my guy Coop here. What's going on, Coop? You like my hairdo? What do you think, bro?
Man, I like it, man. I almost got blinded at the beginning of the show.
That's hurtful.
No,
all right.
I'm trying to recover, man. I was up for 22 hours yesterday because of that race last night. So
yeah, we went live at 7:00, and the race didn't start until 11. So it was a rough haul, but football is here. Obviously, Run Pure Sports. Nobody does fantasy content better than our boys here. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into the race. Daytona, Coop. No longer the Pepsi 400, Coke Zero 400 now. I had to switch the graphic. I forgot. So there's always been, 2 super speedways, Talladega and Daytona. Do you consider Atlanta, now that they're using that package, a small super speedway now? I don't know. But
yeah, it's a small super speedway, but I don't know if it's really comparable to these 2 tracks. And
right.
Even these 2 tracks are kind of different from each other because Daytona is much tighter than Talladega. Daytona requires a lot more handling too.
So walk me through the track. 2.5 mile super speedway. Go.
Yeah, that's about it. 2.5 mile super speedway. They'll be bumping and grinding 190 miles an hour. Dominator points we're not really concerned about tonight. Because it's only 160 laps. And then, every time there's a caution, every lap, you do not get a fastest lap. So those, dwindle down. Fastest laps will be spread out. And I find it hard to believe if any driver will get more than 10 because they will be spread out tremendously. But pit road will be important. Making sure you don't make a mistake. Don't hit anybody, don't get a penalty. You'll see cars come in and take 2 tires, 4 tires, gas only. Different bevy of options. This race they will have to pit during the second and third stage, unlike last night. So if we do get the longer runs, we could see the cars spread out a little bit more. We'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Now, rain is a concern. You and I were talking about it earlier. I asked you what you thought. You thought it was 30-70. We get the race in tonight. From what I see from Packrass, they want to start by 10 o'clock. And if they start after it, it will only be because they feel that they can get the race in. So that's pretty much where you think we're at.
Yeah, I mean, as I was looking at my radar before, and I got a great radar. It's always very reliable.
You might be the worst weatherman on the planet, for the record. But go ahead.
So it shows it's raining until around 7 on my radar, and then after that, it's a clear night. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, man. Because these things down in Florida, they just pop up and come out of nowhere, and it rains every day. So it's not like it would be better to start this race earlier in the day. It would be better to, start it on another day of the week. I mean, it's just how it is in Florida at this time of year.
All right. So 2 things usually happen at Daytona. One, the car leading at the start of the last lap usually doesn't win the race. And number 2, this race and Talladega probably carry the most volatility because of how fast and how close they are for the entire race, right? But like we saw last night, for the most part, the ridiculous chaos doesn't really start until we're inside 20 laps, right? Like typically, and we can probably expect a couple overtimes because they just get too aggressive down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, in stage 1 and 2, I mean, I'm sure we'll get aggressive the last 5 to 10 laps because they'll be fighting for the stage points and then the playoff point for whomever wins it. And then, like you said, I mean, it all just depends on how it plays out in the last stage as to when, the first caution happens. Because usually once that first caution happens, it breeds several more.
Right. Like we saw last night. All right. So let's talk me through I guess our DFS theory is it all about place differential today?
It's about place differential and surviving. So that's
All
where
right.
it comes down to.
So let's start with the playbook. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the fades, and I'm not going to be playing the drivers who start up front. They have low upside. They have much more downside. Their only upside really comes from the dominator points, and I've already hit on the dominator points, and they're really spread out. And I mean, it really should hit home for you because we saw Jeremy Clements win last night. He started in 9th place. With all the cars that were beaten up and battered and not running, he still wasn't in winning lineups at starting in 9th. So, that should really tell you, how hard it is to win GPPs with drivers starting up front. Is it possible? Most definitely. It's happened before. I think 6th might have been the highest one starting position. If you want to start, around 7th or 8th, and then play the drivers that start, up 13th and 14th, take some chances, go for it. I wouldn't play them multiple, meaning 2 of them together, and definitely not 3 of them together. But the thing is, you think you might get them at a lower owned, but they're not really going to be that low owned. They'll still end up being, 10, 15%, depending upon, who it is. Really interested to see what Eric Jones ownership comes back in. He started 11th. He's had really good success this year on this style of racing. And I'm wondering if people are going to, go after him. So really, I'm going to start my lineups at 15 with Cole Custer. Cindric, I don't mind you playing, but I mean, I think he's going to get some ownership because of, winning the Daytona 500. Truex, people, might gravitate to him because he has a lot going on as far as the playoffs go here. Traditionally, he hasn't been very good at this type of racing, but this year he has in the new car. So, you go there. But other than that, it's just really a crapshoot of how to make lineups. Make sure we stay away from them drivers up front for the most part.
So that's really interesting because last night there were 38 cars in the race. How many would you say DNF?
Well, I don't know.
A dozen?
I'd probably say, I don't know. I'd probably say there were probably a good 20 out there at the end, if not more. So yeah, right around.
And of the 20 cars that remained, Clemens started 9th and won the race and wasn't even optimal.
Nope.
That's pretty crazy, man. That's pretty crazy. So now, yeah.
But I mean, we can get to it later, but go ahead. You got to take chances on these lineups.
Yeah. So Coop runs down his playbook every week. Now, obviously at Run Pure Sports, we cover every single sport, soup to nuts, core plays, articles, subscriber video content that's exclusive only to subs, every playbook for every sport, in depth. So I encourage everybody, obviously, to go to Run Pure Sports and check that out. You can use the promo code right now, NFL15. That'll get you 15% off your monthly sub for life, including SaberSim. And that is for any package that is on the website. So you guys know what we do here. People like Big T, JSU, Mangone, Hoop, AP, they're absolute studs. So you'll be grandfathered in for life. So I would take advantage of it if you can. All right, moving on, Coop. So
how we doing on the likes, man? Are you going to beat JJ?
Oh yeah, hit that like. Yeah, hit that like button. I don't have the YouTube link yet. I don't think we tweeted it out. We got 37 likes. That's not bad. We're here. Hit the like button, boys. Come on. All right, so you're going to start your lineups from 15 on back. That's where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, then you got the middle tier of drivers, the 15th to the 22nd place position. These drivers, they carry some upside, but their downside is just as equal. So you've got to be cautious with them. Typically, there's some of the lower owned drivers, that we find throughout the entire, field. The driver I think might be the best GPP play in the whole field is Cole Custer.
Let's tier it off. Like of all the place differential plays that you like, tier it off for me, like top group, middle group, lower group.
I mean, obviously I like them all. Anybody starting 15th and on back, it's just everybody how you construct them on. Everybody.
Yeah.
Every single driver. So but Cole Custer, nobody's gonna play Cole Custer. Starting 15th. He's surrounded by a bunch of, higher name drivers. He doesn't have a great history at Talladega or Daytona, but, anything can happen. And, he provides some great edge for you. The two drivers, in this range that are going to be popular are Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin. Both of them are very good at this type of racing. Blaney has a lot going on for him tonight. He just needs to stay clean and beat Martin Truex in points, and he will be, in the playoffs. So I expect Blaney to really be cautious at the beginning and try to, keep his eye on Truex because, Truex, the way to beat Blaney is only going to happen from stage points for the most part, unless Blaney gets into a accident very early and is one of the first cars out. So a couple other drivers in here. Justin Haley, I don't think he's going to be, very highly owned. He's a very good driver in this style of racing. Has 2 Xfinity wins at Daytona, second place, and then has a Cup win here also. So, I like him. And then, Ricky Stenhouse is not going to be as owned as what people probably think. And for the type of driving that he does on this track, he's always going to be up there. Sometimes he creates the accident. A lot of times, he's just part of the accident. But I would imagine he's going to find his way up there. He had a very, very strong car at the Daytona 500 and was up there until a couple laps left. So he is another driver I like. And then, I wouldn't be surprised. It'll be interesting to see how people play Kyle Busch tonight, because, again, he's in that position where, he could go either way, starting 22nd, have a very good night with a lot of place differential points positively, or have a bad night, and not get many and have some negative. But I think his ownership is going to be interesting because, the storyline is, he hasn't been very good here recently. He's been tripping over his own feet, and then, you have this big race where we always have a lot of wrecks. You would think that, he would probably fall into the next category. And traditionally he tends to find, the wrecks here, but maybe he trolls us and tonight's his night, So I do have, a good bit of interest in Kyle Busch, especially if he's going to be on the lower end side. And Austin Dillon.
Yeah. And what you said about Ricky, he's one of the best plate drivers that's on the track tonight. And like Bubba Wallace is a really underrated plate driver as well. Looking at the playbook, drivers who you think have the most upside in terms of improving their starting position, place differential wise, what would your top 10 be?
Bubba Wallace is going to be the most popular driver. Starts 30th, and he's been on a hot streak here recently. And then if you look at what he's accomplished at Daytona and Talladega here recently, he's always put himself up there for competing for the win. So how do you handle Bubba? Do you go way overweight on him? Do you go way underweight on him? But it's tough because he can win, and he can end up getting 70, 80, 90 points tonight. So that's really your biggest decision. Noah Gragson's another one. He's going to be right behind Bubba and when it comes to ownership, and how you play him is going to be key too. You saw last night, he can drive here. He does really good in this format. And, it's just a matter of him staying clean. And if he stays clean, it's going to be, a good night for him. Some of the other ones back there, I think Brett Keselowski, starting 24th. I think he's going to take some ownership away from Kyle Busch for one thing. But I think also he did really well here in February, and I think he's going to get some attention. Eric Amarola, another driver who's going to garner a lot of attention because he is a stud when it comes to this type of racing. And then I think everybody else will be moderately to lower owned. We always think that these guys are going to be high owned just because they're starting, in this back positions. But typically, not all of them do. And I think, Ty Dillon is a great play. Starting 25th. He's had some very good success in this type of racing, not so much this year, but in prior years. Chase Briscoe, another driver nobody really thinks of at this type of track. I think he's going to go relatively lower owned. I think Gilliland will go, moderately owned along with Burton. It'll be interesting to see how people play Corey LaJoie.
I was just going to ask you about that. Me and you have been talking from a betting perspective, but Landon Castle and Corey LaJoie, at least like Corey LaJoie's team said, they don't want to put his car in any danger tonight. They're perfectly content, the both of them just riding in the back. How are you approaching them DFS wise with that info?
I'm going to play him. Just because he wants to sit out in the back doesn't mean he can't finish in the top 15.
True.
and
Especially
then,
if there's absolute chaos in front of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, hell, there could be 10 drivers left. And he says, I'm going to go for it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm here to win. And the guy's really good in this type of racing style. So, I hope people do stay off of Corey LaJoie. So, because I think, these drivers that sit in the back, you brought up Landon Castle, David Reagan, Cody Ware. I have interest in all of them. And to be quite honest with you, I've been doing this for several years, and I don't know if I've ever had this much ownership on a David Reagan, Cody Ware, Landon Castle before, because they're going to, for the most part, be in the secondary drafts, and they typically miss the wrecks, and they, gain their positions by, the other drivers' attrition. And as long as their cars hold up, they have a great shot at a top 20, top 15, even outside top 10, depending upon how much chaos there is. And, the one driver who's starting back there, I'm not really that much on, is BJ Mcleod, because, I don't think he's good enough to beat the drivers that I just mentioned. So I think in order for him to do well, it would involve like a Castle and a Reagan and a Cody Ware having issues somewhere for a Mcleod to beat them, because he's just so slow. But, I have interest in all of them drivers. And, it's all about, how you construct your lineups tonight. You want to have as much upside in it as possible, but you want to be different too. And, I don't mind playing two drivers in the same lineup who are starting, in the teens, so to say. But I'll backload it with, high upside. And, you want to be different. Like if you look at the lineup last night that won a tournament in the Xfinity race, I think I have it written down. Maybe I don't, but it was a Woozy was in there. I mean, it was just a bunch of, crazy names.
Yeah. If you saw the top 10 on that final overtime restart, there were a couple guys I've legitimately never heard of before in my life. Like all joking aside. All right. So basically for people that are new to this, right, this is their first super speedway tournament. Leaving salary on the table in a format like this, you would say means nothing, right? Leave as much salary as you want on the table.
I mean, you want to make sure that you don't leave more than, let's say, 3,000 or something like that.
That's a ton to leave on the table, right? Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is you're going to fade the first 7 rows of this race, and you're just going to jam lineups from 15 on back.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends. Like a lot of people will jam their lineups from drivers starting 23rd on back.
Right.
I think, a lot of people will jam their lineups starting with drivers 28th on back. I think that's really the cash play. Can that win a GPP? Oh, most definitely it can. But, I think at some point you got to take some chances too, because, the majority of the time you're going to find, one of the better drivers who actually wins the race. And it just depends upon where they start from. But, just the biggest thing I can try to tell you is try not to start too many lineups with the same 2 or 3 drivers, because if those drivers get into trouble, it really eliminates your opportunity as far as, how well you can do. And I know a lot of people are going to start with Bubba. A lot of people are going to start with Noah in the same lineups, but, have a couple of them, but not many, and try to get different in other ways when you're playing Bubba or Noah Gragson, and, have fun with it. But, try to, spread your ownership out, because, drivers that you think are going to be 30, 40% owned, they typically come in around 20% owned, sometimes even less.
Right.
Because once you start making lineups, You're going to have your pool spread out and just shoot for variation tonight.
Listen, man, if anybody that's watching this show right now ships a tournament tonight, go to church the next day and thank God, because the amount of volatility that happens in this format, you have to be incredibly fortunate to make any kind of substantial money on a slate like this. So just recognize the risk and bet or play DFS accordingly is what I would say. All right, how many likes we got? Hit the like button, boys. Right now we have 53 likes, 101 people watching. I mean, I shaved my head for you guys today. Come on, man. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the betting aspect of this, because you and I didn't do any shows this week because of the volatility. And a lot of the time we go into races like this saying we are going to live bet. That has been the case for the last 8 years, but the sharper that NASCAR in-game betting gets, and it is getting sharper by the year, even just from this year to last year. Coop knows, he was with me last year. They're tightening the screws hard, and you're not getting the numbers that you used to be able to get at Daytona with 10 laps to go. Anybody in the first 5 rows with 10 laps to go is now 5-1 instead of 12-1. So that makes you have to adjust and react, right? So something that Coop and I talked about and have done this year that we didn't necessarily do as much last year was really taking some shots on the cars at the back of the pack. Your 150 to ones, your 100 to ones, your 90 to ones, your 80 to ones. I bet 11 drivers for about a quarter unit each, couple $100 each. And it's basically like a 3-unit total risk. And if you get one of them home, any one of them home, phenomenal. But why it's good to have is because it will help you in a race like this down the stretch more than it will hurt you, because you figure you have more than a quarter of the field at 11 drivers with minimum odds of, let's say, 35-1, right? When we're inside 10 laps and the chaos starts to happen, I would say the likelihood of us having over 25% of the final top 10 cars that are in the first 5 rows on that final restart is going to be 2 or 3 drivers probably. And at that point, you have a legitimate chance to make some serious money with minimal investment. Would you agree with that, Coop? Would you say that that's the one thing that you and I kind of switched up from this year to last year based on the movement of the market?
Most definitely. I didn't go as many as what you did, and I did a little bit different than what you did, but for the most part, we're on the same path. Going back to what you were talking about live value betting, and how, you can say the same about, pre-race, the betting of the value too.
Sure.
Last year, we got Matty Benedetto at 67-1. Earlier this year, you could get, an Eric Jones at 50-1. But they've sucked out the value so much that I don't know if there really is much value out there. People will say like Buescher's 35-1 is value, Jones is 35-1 value, but knowing what I've known them to be in the past,
right.
Well, I don't think I can really call that value.
You and I, example, you and I had Eric Jones at 70-1, leading the final lap of what was that, Daytona? The Daytona 500?
Talladega, I think. Maybe one of them. I don't know.
Talladega. Now, you look at Eric Jones now and you're like, well, we got him at 70-1. Now he's 35-1. Is there value there? But then you have to take into consideration how good that car is on those tracks this year. I mean, he's been phenomenal. You know what I mean? And you have to find the happy medium with, are you okay with taking a worse number now that you have more information, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even to going back to the last Atlanta race, I mean, Corey LaJoie was 250-1. And now, what he did that last race is suck the value out of those type of drivers for the most part. I mean, one of the probably the most ridiculous lines, it would have to be probably one of the top 5 most ridiculous lines I've seen this year, is Corey LaJoie to win this race on BetMGM is plus 3,300. You've got to be freaking kidding me.
I saw like 80-1. I didn't even realize it was that low. BetMGM is fastly becoming like the worst legal book in the market. It's bad. Yeah, it's real bad.
But no, that's why I like the bet I placed on FanDuel earlier this week, where I got 2/3 of the field basically. It was driver at winning, position, driver to win the race based upon their starting position.
Right.
And it was 11-20, and then 21-30, and I got really good.
What were the numbers that you got?
I got 390 on 11 through 20, and that's what it still is. And then 21 through 30, I got it 750, and it's down to 500. So
yeah, I mean that I when I finally realized that you made that bet, I said that's a great bet, man. Really sharp look. And like I think that we basically cut that same theory like into 3 different pieces of pie this week. And that's so basically our betting plan for this race is very similar to Coop's DFS plan for this race, right? He's only looking at drivers from 15 position on back. I'm only looking for drivers that are 35-40-1 or back pre-race. And then you'll have to make a decision based on how many cars that you actually have in the top 10 when the chips are down. Should you be involved and get involved with anybody else? I think because the market is tightening, that is the best way to approach these super speedway races now.
Right.
I
bet mine on top 3s and top 5s too. The drivers.
Yeah, I like that.
That way I can try to get back my entry fee, so to say, and possibly make some profit. If 2 of them finish in the top 5, I'll profit. If any of them get a top 3, I'll profit. And I think it's a better chance that one of them, possibly even 2, maybe 3, finish in the top 5 than one of them wins.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
That's why I like that.
I took slightly worse numbers than you did. I took Burton top 5 at 14-1, Hemrick top 5 at 16-1, like you did. Ty Dillon at 12-1, but I also took McDowell and Haley at 7-1 because I think that some of these numbers, I mean, none of these guys should be 20-1 to hit the top 5 in this race. It's absurd.
Yeah. Another thing that we need to watch for, and we all need to watch for if you're live betting, is just because a driver gets in a wreck here doesn't necessarily mean they're out. Look at what happened to Austin Hill last night. You got to evaluate what the damage is, and you need to pay attention quickly to. And this doesn't just necessarily fall for this race, but it's really any race, but more so this race because it's easier to get back to the front in this type of race than what it is in the other races. But the books will drop the numbers. tremendously. Like Austin Hill went to plus 2,000, plus 2,500 last night.
Right,
once he had his little, thing on pit road, which, obviously didn't affect his car very much. And then, I've seen Eric Jones win here before. And I mean, that car looked like it, was a Bristol car. It was just beaten battered. So
also
keep an eye on the drivers that have these little wrecks.
Right.
And they get their numbers dropped, and they're much better than that number.
Last night, so Coop and I had Justin Haley going into the race, right? I made one live bet last night, and it was Riley Herbst at 20-1. He goes through the grass. I thought that the all underneath his car, I thought was just torn up. And then all of a sudden, with 10 laps to go, Haley's sitting fifth, Riley Herbst is sitting sixth. They take each other out. And then, but just the fact that, look at Sheldon Creed, spun out, got back to the front last night. Same thing with Austin Hill. So yeah, the odds will drop on these guys, and as long as they don't have any damage on their car, they can get right back to that spot within 20 laps.
Davey Dinger was another one last night. He had that spin, and then at the end he ran out of gas or had to come down and get gas or whatever.
So keep an eye on that in the live betting market tonight as well. All right. So any final? I mean, like, I know normally we go dominators, we go mid-tier, we go place differential. This is not that type of race. So
it's all about strategy and how you play it.
Right. So like Coop said, he'll be looking from 15 on back and just taking shots, leaving some salary on the table. And my question for you is, any closing thoughts or like final notes that
one driver I didn't mention was William Byron. He started 17th, and I'm not sure if he's going to get much ownership or not, but he's probably the last driver I'm deciding upon right now, because he qualifies really well here traditionally, but he doesn't race very well here. He has a win. But after that win, the results are not very good whatsoever. So, if he's going to be lower owned, I might take a couple shots on him. But if he's going to grab some ownership, 15% or more, I probably want to try to fade him.
All right. That's fair. Let me take a look, see where we are on likes. I know it's a Saturday show. I bet you that there are a ton of people that will be waiting to watch the show tomorrow, not realizing that the race is tonight. But 116 people watching, 70 likes. All right, so just
get us percentage though.
Get us to 100 likes, boys, and we'll give you every bet that Coop and I have made today. Every single one. We need 30 likes. It's not that much to ask.
What do you think the race is going to flow like?
I think it'll be relatively quiet the first half of the race.
I just don't want to see Martin Truex and Ryan Blaney get out front. And people push them all night long. Like, they're the drivers I don't want to see up front.
I mean, you know what it is, man? You can go from first to 16th with one wrong move. You drop through the field like a stone. It's impossible, I think, for anybody to be up there all day. Nobody's going to be
right. And then, the other piece too is you can have a good team up there too.
That I said that
team can be dismantled relatively quickly because you saw that last night with Junior Motorsports.
I said the one thing I didn't want to see was 4 Junior Motorsports cars behind each other, because you can pull a small locomotive can start to pull away a little bit, but they never got that chance. But you have to admit, though, like that would change my live betting strategy, I think, a little bit. Like if we're sitting inside 40 laps, right? And then we're sitting inside 20 laps, and we have a race team in one of those rows running 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you have to take that into consideration, because they're going to protect each other, and they're probably going to be a unit for those final 20 laps. Where the chaos comes in, though, is the restarts will break them up, right? Because they won't be behind each other on the restarts. And that's my only worry about getting involved with like 20 laps to go, because the chaos, once we get inside that 8-lap mark, shit is going to break crazy. We're going to see multiple overtimes. That's what we see every single year when it comes to this race. So,
I mean, it doesn't take much, to get a car going the wrong way at one of these tracks.
Right. So when you're going sideways and you're going 190 miles an hour, one little tap in your back will send you, and you're off. So, all right, boys.
I mean, that hit Noah Gregson had last night was really
hard.
Yeah,
it was hard. Yeah, I mean, that's all because of Dale. That's all because of the senior. I mean, that's why these guys could live today. Really. So,
what do you think about like another entry? One of the things that I'm thinking about, like from a DFS perspective, is you bring up Dale, and I'll focus on Junior. Like whenever Dale Jr. was doing really good at his plate racing during his time, he either had Michael Waltrip with him, or probably even more so, Tony Stewart. So like I'm kind of thinking like I kind of want to put Bubba Wallace and Denny Hamlin in the same lineups, because I think Denny really tries to push the hell out of Bubba tonight for that win.
So let's start here. If we were on the Kegcast, you would get a 30-second timeout right now, because you just mentioned Dale Earnhardt and Bubba Wallace in the same sentence. That should never happen, ever. But I don't disagree. I mean, listen, man, you're
hold on. You are just upset because and this is why you're putting your strategy out there tonight, and how you're betting like this is because you are pushing hard to get that 100-to-1 that you don't.
Yeah, I am. I want that Talladega Nights movie night more than
But back to Denny and Bubba.
All the crap that we give Bubba Wallace, he's going to be one of the best plate drivers on the track tonight. He's really, really good at it. So, I mean, I can see it, and we know what Denny does. He finds his way to a win on super speedways. How many does he have between Daytona and Talladega wins?
3, I think. I don't know if he has any Talladega. He might have 1. I'm not sure.
Yeah, at least 3, right? Daytona.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I can see it, definitely. I can see it.
And then, like you mentioned earlier, like you really can't do it because of where Logano is starting. But Logano, I mean, maybe a Blaney and Cindric starting too, but maybe Blaney with Burton. Burton maybe pushing Blaney somewhere in that, or Blaney pushing Burton, because, Penske's affiliated with the Wood brothers. Trying to think of, with not necessarily teams, but any other drivers that kind of, like to hook up with each other. Can you think of any? The team that scares me the most is Penske, because
they're always there.
Right. They're always there as a team.
Logano and Blaney are 2 of the best at this format, and Austin Cindric's taken to it like a glove. I mean, he's been really good, really, really good. So yeah, they worry me, Penske. They definitely.
I mean, you really can't play Kozlowski and Buescher because of where they start. You can't play Gilliland and McLeod because of where McLeod starts. You really can't stack teams.
Where do the 2 Call cars start?
I mean, you could do that, Haley and Gregson, and then Hemrick too. Excuse me, Gregson's not in a Call car; he's in the Beard car. Excuse me. So it would be Hemrick and Haley. So yeah, you could do Hemrick and Haley.
Yeah. It's just so tough. The volatility throws it all out the window. You have to be extremely fortunate to win this race. You really do.
You could do a Ty Dillon and Austin Dillon's, put the two of them together. I think that will provide you with some edge because I don't think they're going to be relatively high owned either.
Gun to your head, who wins the race tonight, you think?
Who wins the race?
Yeah.
Uh,
I got a guy that you're gonna be like, really? But
are we going with like
I'm
the
going
obvious
with,
or not obvious?
I'm saying, like, in your gut tonight, who do you think wins the race? Forget about the odds.
Ricky Stenhouse.
I think it's gonna be Chastain.
I don't know if anybody's going to win a drive around Ross Chastain. Man.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. I mean, he might have, but it could hurt him, man. He could have a hard time, hooking up with maintaining the draft.
But you know what, though? If he gets up there, they got no choice but to push him. You know that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know that.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know why, but my gut says Chastain tonight, even though I didn't bet him, and I'm not going to because his odds. But yeah, that's what my gut says. So Ricky Stenhouse for the win tonight, huh?
Yeah.
All right, boys. I guess that's it. We did not get 100 likes, which is disappointing because we got 150 last week, but we have less than half the people watching because it's Saturday night. So, but I will give you guys, Coop, throw out your top the guys that you bet to win the race. I'll throw out the top fives. Burton 14-1 top five, Hemrick 16-1 top five, Dillon 12-1 top five, McDowell 7-1 top five, Haley 7-1 top five. Those are the 5 drivers that I bet to hit the top 5 tonight. I took 11 outrights. We didn't get 100 likes. But Coop, give out your 5 outrights.
Gilliland, Gregson, Burton, Hemrick, Ty Dillon.
I will say that all those 5 are in my 11. So at least we gave you guys something. But keep in mind, I bet quarter unit shots. Don't be throwing full units on 150-1 shots because that's going to get you to the soup kitchen quick. So just like chill out. Enjoy the race. I hope your action runs pure this weekend. And aside from that, Simon, get us out of here.